What's going on, everybody? This is JohnJake Baseball on the mic here, coming at you with some USBL action as we get ready to start some of the National Championship Series. We are narrowed down to 4 teams, so it's going to be a really good episode as we go play games 1 through 3 for both the ALCS as well as the NLCS, so it's going to be a really good one. Make sure you go ahead, smash that like button, hit subscribe if you have to be brand new, by the way. As we'll pick things up here in the top of the 4th inning as Delvin Smeltzer, man. He is absolutely feeling himself right now, pitching a shutout, getting his first strikeout. But DJ LeMahieu, he's going to send this into left center field. It does end up dropping. And it will end up being the Philadelphia Patriots who will end up scoring the very first run of the championship series and giving McFry a little bit of run support. But Ronald Gushek, he's gonna send a rocket out into center field, and it is gonna be gone. Home run for Gushek, and they will instantly go ahead and strike back. So didn't see anything happen in the first few innings, but we do see a couple of runs score in that 4th inning. And it does end up remaining tied all the way into the top of the 9th inning until Bryce Harper, he comes up to bat. Is this a fair ball? And it just barely is. So Bryce Harper breaks the tie here in game number 1 of the NLCS. And the Patriots have a 3-1 lead. But George Springer, he's going to go ahead and potentially run out that play. That's a real surprise. Gabriel Arias, who was substituted in. He was a pinch runner in the bottom of the 8th inning. He commits the error. So a couple batters later, we got runners on first and second base. Jesus Aguilar trying to come up to bat, forcing the double play, though, as Jesus Aguilar is slower than molasses. But that still will be enough for the Philadelphia Patriots to go ahead and win game number 1. And that's a big step for them. These two teams have went up against each other in the NLDS last year, and San Francisco swept them, even though Philadelphia did have that number 1 seed. So Philadelphia already doing better here in year number 2 as they will take game 1. So speaking of game 1, so let's go ahead and check out the ALCS. Two teams that both have really good offenses. The Minnesota Ducks taking on the Boston Quakers, and even though they do have a lesser record, Boston does get to host as they were a division champion. The Minnesota Ducks, they have gone through as a wild card team so far, the only wild card team to remain up in this point. And are we going to potentially see the Minnesota Ducks make it to the World Series? Last year, we saw San Francisco make it from that wild card spot. Are they the San Francisco Seals of year number 2? Well, we just gotta wait and see as we go ahead and jump into the bottom of the 1st inning. And let me tell you what, Mookie Betts has been absolutely electric in this postseason, and a big reason why they're here, batting .538 on the season as Mookie Betts sends a nuke into right field. It will be a fair ball, and it's gonna be gone. And the terror of Mookie Betts continues, somehow raising that batting average up. That's really hard to do when you're batting .538, but Brady Singer will go ahead, calm things down a little bit here. And Boston will actually strike first. A solo shot for Mookie Betts will give Boston an early 1-0 lead as it brings up the all-star Will Smith to the plate here in the top of the 2nd inning, and he will respond in kindly as well. A solo shot for him. So in the blink of an eye, this game is all knotted up. And like I said, this series definitely has the potential for a lot of high-scoring games. Something that I'm personally excited about. You know I love offense. For those of you that followed this channel for a minute now, is Garrett Cooper is going to hit a home run as well. His 3rd home run of the postseason. And Minnesota will take a 2-1 lead. Looking to grow it as well as Shed Long Jr. is going to rail this one right down the line. It is a fair ball. And Shed Long Jr. does end up getting a double. For the very first time, a runner in scoring position for Fernando Tatis Jr. And that's a no-doubter. I mean, look at the reactions of the outfield. They're not even bothering to move for that ball. They already knew that ball was gone, like a girl in a country song. And a 2-run shot for Fernando Tatis Jr. makes it 4-1, and the lead only continues to grow as Randall Polison, the designated hitter, he's going to hit his first home run of the postseason, really teeing off of Delvin Garcia. Delvin Garcia, who is still in the game, by the way. I'm surprised that he hasn't necessarily been pulled as of yet. It has not been a great day in terms of allowing the home run ball to happen. And I'm sure the Boston manager heard me, because moments later, Keegan Akin is going to come into the game. Pretty good year for him overall. 14-2, a 3.8 ERA. Somebody has traditionally came in as a long reliever and is seeing a lot of action here this season. So bases loaded here, top of the 5th inning, and Polson should get 1 run in here, as that is going to be a sacrifice fly, except, oh my, what a dot from right field. That was Mookie Betts that got him out there, and that saves a run. So great play out there in the outfield, but sometimes there's no answer for the perfect offense, as that is going to be safe, but just barely though. These outfielders for Boston, they certainly got themselves a little bit of a cannon, but they need to do something at the plate here. They're down 7-1 here in game number 1, as I think Boston has finally found a team that, at least on the offensive side of the plate, they have met their match. So really the biggest thing for Boston is not if they can score enough runs. They should get plenty of runs in this series, as Mike Tauchman, he's going to send this out into right field, and that's going to be a home run. So yeah, a lot of guys in the lineup that can hit some home runs for sure for you. But the real question is, can their pitching staff step up? They don't really have any great pitchers. They don't have a true ace per se. Like, they got a few good pitchers, as that is a Aaron Fro, as that is going to move the runners to second and third. Wow. So it was originally just going to be a single, but an Aaron Fro from Randall Polison, who's out in left field today, he is going to throw an errant ball that moves the runners over, and now Mookie Betts, instead of having just 1 runner in scoring position, he's going to end up having 2 runners in scoring position. And even though he will end up sacrifice flying, he will end up bringing one of those runs home outright. So he will end up seeing a runner on third base. Boston really needed something to happen here, as they're still down by 4 runs, even though they have certainly gotten a couple of runs here in this inning, as Brady Singer's day is going to be done. A pretty respectable day on the mound. But now we will go ahead and see James Pesos take over his 6th postseason appearance, and has allowed 5 to 6 runs so far. So it's been a rough postseason year for James Peso, but he will make sure he gets the clean inning none of the less. As Boston, making this a little bit of a game right now. Only a 3-run difference. But this Minnesota offense simply built different. Ramon Laureano, he's going to hit this one into right center field. That will end up hitting the wall. And the New York Knights acquisition back in free agency in the offseason of year 1. He comes through in a big way. And another run in scoring position. And Dylan Floro comes into the game, and he's going to have to try to clean things up. Almost gets out of the inning, except Garrett Cooper hits one right in the center field, testing the arm, and it's not going to be online. And the Ducks will end up putting together Yet another run on the board. So let's go ahead and jump into the closing moments of this game. Bottom of the 7th now. 4-run difference is Jake Marinowski. He's going to send this one into left center field, and it's going to be gone. Absolute moon rocket, as it ends up being a 450-footer, you guys. That is an absolute bomb. And it ends up being the first home run of the postseason. As we'll go ahead and check in now on Trevor Rosenthal. So here we are in the bottom of the 8th inning, as we got the former top prospect in Robert Poisson, as he looks to close this gap a little bit. Here's he sends a moonshot into right center field. It is an absolute rocket, and it's gonna leave the ballpark. Home run for Robert Poisson, the second home run of the postseason, as it will bring up Andrew Chafin from the bullpen. Coming in a sticky situation. Bases are looted, and all it'll take is one swing of the at-bat. Blow, look at that! Christian Vasquez closes the door. He strikes out. And you want to talk about doing some window shopping at the very worst time. That would certainly be it right there. As now we will have Jesse Biddle come up to the plate. As we got a full count now, top of the 9th inning, as Ramon Laureano sends this one out. Another home run. And this might be a precursor to what should be a really exciting series for sure. Now a 9-6 lead in favor of the Minnesota Ducks. But Mitch Haniger is going to join in on the show as well, as he sends the rocket on the left center field. And that is close to the upper deck. That was 480 feet. Oh my goodness. Just an absolute home run derby fest out here, man. So the Boston Quakers do go to the bullpen again, and they will bring in Tanner Rainey, who is only making his second appearance of the entire postseason. He was perfect so far, but this is up in the air, and it's also going to be gone. So 3 home runs in the top of the 9th inning, all solo shots, but it's a 5-run lead, and it gives Tyler Thornburg a ton of space to work with, who has not given up a single run in the entire postseason. But that might be challenged, though, as we will see runners not only at third base but also at second. A very clear double for Jonathan Fular, acquired from the Phoenix Firebirds in free agency last season. And it's a quick pull as well. Garrett Crotchet gonna come into the game, his first postseason appearance, and look at this. Suddenly things get really interesting all of a sudden. Mookie Betts hits that grand slam in the bottom of the 9th inning, and it's only a 1-run difference. They could still come back and win this game, as down bad as Boston has been with their pitching all day long here. As we got a runner on first base, one swing of the bat could give the Boston Quakers the win. 2-2 delivery, and it's going to be a grounder to third base, and will be fielded cleanly. And this game is going to be over. But wow, what an extremely exciting game number 1 that we just witnessed right before our eyes. But the Minnesota Ducks do end up winning game number 1. They steal one on the road, and it will end up being an 11-10 victory. What an offensive slugfest. So let's go ahead and jump back into the NLCS as we go and experience game number 2, the Philadelphia Patriots in San Francisco. Gonna get back at it again with the White Vans. As we did see earlier in this episode, Philadelphia winning game number 1. It was a really defensive matchup. And we will see Framber Valdez on the mound for the Seals, taking on Corbin Burns. And Corbin Burns has been having a really rough time so far. He had one postseason start back in the divisional round, but definitely had a really tough outing. His ERA at 13.5 right now, and it's not going to get lower anytime soon. He had the runners loaded with just 1 out. In San Francisco already gets a run on the board a lot quicker than game number 1, where we had to wait all the way to the 4th inning before anyone scored. It's Josh Donaldson. He's going to add on to the lead as he's going to send a 3-run shot. Barely remains fair, by the way. And it actually is the first home run of the postseason for Josh Donaldson, coming in a pretty big time. But Corbin Burns will end up settling down a little bit after that, getting the strikeout on the Silver Slugger, Salvador Perez. But a great start for sure, as we will end up seeing San Francisco take an early 4-0 lead, as Bryce Harper, he's going to try to get a rocket out into right field, but he avoids the cutoff man, and the Seals do end up getting another run on the board, make it 5-0. So now that brings up Paul Goldsmith, who has had a really tough time in the postseason, batting under 100. If you want to talk about the interstate, my man is below the interstate. He's on the underpass right now, and those struggles will keep continuing as he ends up striking out to end the bottom of the 2nd inning. But the Seals still have a really nice lead of 5-0 right now, getting not only George Springer to strike out, but also Bryce Harper. And oddly enough, it's the first 2 strikeouts for Framber Valdez all day. But a couple batters later, Jesus Aguilar is going to get the Patriots on the board. 1 run will score, and a 2nd one will score as well. Wow. So I thought that man was going to be gunned down, but that throw was just a tad bit offline. It wasn't perfect. So we'll end up bringing on Sean Murphy here, as he's 0 for 1 so far in the day. And he's going to hit one past Ozzy Albies, as it will end up bringing Jesus Aguilar home. And there, the Patriots are now right back into shouting distance, now just making it a 2-run game. So here we are in the bottom of the 6th inning. The Seals still enjoying a 5-3 lead, as Josh Donaldson is able to go ahead and hit one over the outstretched arms of Justin Upton, and that will give them a double. So a runner in scoring position as it brings up Salvador Perez, the Silver Slugger, at catcher, and he hits one right over the middle. And Josh Donaldson looking to get himself home, and he's going to do just that. An RBI single for the 2022 Silver Slugger. As the next batter brings up Seth Beer, who is 1 for 2 on the day. He's also going to hit one. It's in the left center field. Perez, he's going to third. Is he going to make it all the way home? And he's going to do just that. So San Francisco extends their lead, make it a 7-3 lead for the San Francisco Seals. As we're here now in the top of the 7th inning, desperately needing them out a comeback, and this will help. Justin Upton sending an absolute moonshot in the left center field, and that will be gone like a girl in a country song. 395 feet, not bad for someone that is more known to being a contact hitter. As John Curtis will come into the game, try to clean things up here in the top of the 7th inning, and does just that, able to get Adam Oliver to ground out to the third baseman to end the inning. But the Philadelphia Patriots do at least get themselves at least 1 run back, but still down by 3 runs. You're now down to 4, 5 outs tops. Not a lot of room for error if you're Philadelphia, as George Springer, he's going to strike out as well. So that does make it 2 outs here in the top of the 8th inning. We'll go ahead and jump to a few batters later. Sean Murphy comes to the plate. He just had his first hit of the entire postseason. He's been really down bad though. 0.95 batting average, 1 home run, 3 RBIs. but Sean Murphy, he's in a special situation, a chance to go ahead and tie this thing up with just one swing in the at-bat, and he does just that. Murphy, no doubter, and it's gone. And some Philadelphia Patriots tie this thing up, all knotted up at 7 apiece as San Francisco goes to the bullpen. The 5'11" reliever Don Altavilla, who is making his first appearance of the entire season right now, and not a good start for him to start his 2022 campaign. Runners all over the field. 2-2 count. Adam Oliver could have given them the lead, but he is going to end up striking out swinging. And Altavilla makes sure that Philadelphia does not get the lead. As we jump into the bottom of the 9th inning, Nick Castellanos, 1 out, 2-2 count. He's going to send this one. It's deep. Looks like it's going to drop into the glove of Justin Upton. But that being said, we are going to see a walk-off here for game number 2 of the NLCS. And San Francisco will not be leaving the Bay City completely empty-handed. They win game number 2 to nod this series up at 1 apiece, as next game 3 will be in Philadelphia. So let's go ahead and jump into game number 2 for the ALCS now. We saw the Minnesota Ducks win game number 1. So just like for the San Francisco Seals, this is certainly a must-win game for them. You do not want to go to the opposing team stadium and be down 2-0 with, basically 3 straight games, on the road after this, with how the current playoff format it is set up right now. And this will not help. Frankie Montes, not off to a good start, gives off a solo shot to Thad Gonzalez, as it does make an 0-1 count here. Is going to go ahead. He's going to hit this one out into right center field, and this will also leave the ballpark. So Frankie Montes with 2 home runs given up in the same inning. So that being said, it is certainly not a good start for Frankie Montes, but Luis Castillo will not exactly be having himself a shutout either, as he's also going to give up a home run to Paul DeJong. It's his 4th one that he gave up in this, not that he gave up, but that's the 4th one that Paul DeJong has hit in the regular season, as a couple batters later, Christian Vasquez, he's going to set a moonshine up out there as well. That's going to be over 400 feet. And that one actually had runners on base. And we're looking at a 3-2 lead for the Boston Quakers. Not a bad look whatsoever. But Will Smith looks to reestablish at least a tying game. This thing all knotted up at 3 apiece. And that is also going to be a solo shot. 426 feet in the process. As Ramon Laureano, the acquisition and free agency from the New York Knights, he's going to go ahead and give Minnesota the lead as well. A 2-run home run that ends up going 430 feet as well. So definitely a tight game number 2 in the balance here, as either team can still win this game. But look at this. This thing is all knotted up now thanks to yet another home run. This time it's Jonathan Fular going deep. His 2nd home run of the postseason. And we're definitely seeing a lot of bombs here early in this game, as Robert Poisson, the former top prospect, now starting shortstop for the Boston Quakers, he's going to end up striking out swinging. And then Max Muncy, he somehow manages to get that through in there. Gonna try to get to the corners, but runners will be stranded on 1st and 3rd. So the game does go ahead and remain tied. But here we go, top of the 7th inning. We're now getting into the relievers for this one. Is Dylan Floro is gonna come into the game. 1 pitch, 1 out so far as Dylan Floro, his 2nd pitch. This is deep. This could be some serious trouble, and it's gone. cannot bring it back into the ballpark. Garrett Cooper will strike again here in this postseason. His 4th home run of the postseason. Although that will be the only run that the Minnesota Ducks end up getting. Although that solo shot does give Minnesota a 5-4 lead as Mookie Betts looks to strike right back. Emmanuel Clase didn't know what hit him. Solo shot for him, and that's home run number 4 in this game. As we will see some bullpen action for the Minnesota Ducks. Craig Kimbrel comes to the game now, his 8th appearance of the day, and he calms things down in a big way. And for as of right now, the game remains tied at 5 apiece. We'll see if it stays that way, though. As we see some substitutions for both teams. Wade Tavares, he's going to come in as a pinch runner, chilling at second base. He might represent the go-ahead run here in the bottom of the 8th inning, and does end up getting home. Way to use the speed, and a great time to utilize him as well. As now Boston pulls ahead. James Peso trying to get things under control. His 7th appearance, 5.06 ERA. Betts at the plate, and oh my, is this going to be a dagger? Oh, this could very well end up being a dagger. It is going to be gone like a girl in a country song. Another home run for Mookie Betts. He's been absolutely unstoppable. It gives the Quakers a 9-5 lead. And Boston will end up going ahead and winning game number 2. So here we are, finishing games 1 and 2 for both the NLCS and the ALCS as well. And yet here we are. We do end up seeing both series being tied, actually. Boston takes game 2, and the ALCS will now be tied at 1 game apiece. So let's go ahead and jump into the rubber matches for both the NLCS and the ALCS as well. We will go ahead and see the San Francisco Seals taking on the Philadelphia Patriots here in game number 3. So definitely some exciting stuff going on here on the mound. We got Jameson Taillon starting for the Philadelphia Patriots, while the San Francisco Seals will send out Logan Webb. And honestly, Logan Webb has been pretty horrific. 18.9 ERA. That is just not going to cut it necessarily. So we'll see. But he only had 1 stop though. So we'll see if he can do a little bit better. But right now, kind of the same stuff that we saw from Logan Webb's previous start. He gives up a big base hit out into right center field. Oh, thanks to, of course, I believe that's George Springer that hit the RBI double. And just like that is already a 1-0 game. But we know this San Francisco offense can certainly come out and play as well, as we see a double of their own. That's looks like Willie Adames, the shortstop for San Francisco, getting into scoring position. We'll see if Josh Donaldson will be able to go ahead and bring him home. As Josh Donaldson, this is a moonshot. Oh, Bryce Harper misplays it. Oh, no. So a costly error out there in the outfield is going to cost a whole run. Wow. Or at least it should be an error. I mean, that has to be an error, right? Like, you cannot reward that as a multi-base hit. You just can't do that at the end of the day. But the score does remain tied at 1 apiece. It remains that way for a long time until top of the 6th inning, where Josh Donaldson comes up to the plate once again and does end up breaking the ice in terms of the scoreboard. Now a slight advantage for the San Francisco Seals, as they will end up taking a 2-1 lead here going into the last few innings of this game. Ozzie at the plate. He's 0 for 3 here in the top of the 7th inning. Cody Wheatley is now in the game for Philadelphia, as he will end up getting a sacrifice fly, the only run for San Francisco here in the 7th inning. And it definitely feels like the winds are changing a little bit. We're seeing a little bit more momentum jumping to the side of the San Francisco Seals. And it's up to Alejandro Cepeda to try to come in here and try to get a clean inning, give your guys a chance to be successful, but he ends up loading the bases, and then we do have this 2-base hit right down the line that could very well make things out of reach. And Alejandro Cepeda, he's going to be pulled out without even recording it out. So John Barreba, he's got to come up in here real quick, and he also gives up a base hit right down the line. Jesus Aguilar could not get there in time. And Ozzy Albies, man, he is a quick little fella, that's for sure. And it gets another couple of runs because of that. And now I really do believe that this game is a little bit out of reach. 7-1 is actually going to go ahead and being your final score. As San Francisco, they had a game stolen from them when they were hosting it back in game number 1. But the first home game in the NLCS for the Philadelphia Patriots, San Francisco was able to steal. So now the pressure is back on the Patriots once again. They will now have to win at least one game in San Francisco if they want to go to the World Series. But as of right now, San Francisco, they take the rubber match and will take a 2-1 lead in the NLCS. So now we go ahead and jump into the other rubber match. Game number 3 of the ALCS. Series is all knotted up at 1 apiece, but now we are in Minnesota. And the interesting thing about MLB The Show, I hope this does get addressed in the 2022 game. Hope that's coming out this spring. Hopefully it still comes out this spring. You never know when you're in the middle of a pandemic, of course. But for some reason, whenever you have like a custom stadium, it doesn't allow you to play night games, especially in the playoffs. But, you know, like this is a glorified minor league stadium, and I guess night games are allowed to happen there. I don't know. Don't ask me. I'm just a messenger. But anyways, bottom of the second inning, Shenlong Jr. is up at the plate, but we see a steal here. And it looks like it's Garrett Cooper who hit that home run in game number 2 to help put him over, or at least attempted to put him over the top, as, oh my, Garrett Cooper not only steals third, but a bad throw is going to allow him to come home. Wow. That's insane. And that also ends up being the only run allowed in the entire game. So that error right there was the ultimate difference maker. So Minnesota was able to use that. They got really shut down pitching, by the way, from Tajon Walker. You know, really one of the best pitching performances that we have seen in the postseason, by the way. But Minnesota wins this one 1-0, and they will take a 2-1 series lead in the ALCS. So guys, that being said, we have been seeing some fantastic playoff action so far. None of the teams have really dominated here in this championship series level. So we're going to need next episode to sort that out. And that's exactly what we're going to do. Next episode, we will go ahead and wrap out not only the NLCS, but also the ALCS as well, to figure out who's going to go ahead and go to the postseason, and finally figure out who's going to the World Series between these two teams. It's going to be a really good episode. So guys, if you're super excited about it as I am, I need you guys to go ahead and do me a favor. Smash that like button for me, and then also on top of it, hit that subscribe button as well. If you do happen to be brand new to the channel, by the way, this is JohnJake Baseball on the mic signing off, but I'm hoping you guys are all out there having a good one. Take care, everybody.